Asatru, A Native European Spirituality by Stephen McNallen. Chapter 24, A Holy Reserve. We must approach the gods and goddesses in the right spirit. We live in a cynical society where everything is open to ridicule. Irreverence is considered a virtue, and it is unfashionable to take anything very seriously. The holy powers must not be exposed to this attitude. Before rituals of any sort, we must remind ourselves that some things matter and that they are not to be approached in a casual or overly familiar way. This is not to say that our rites must be grim-faced affairs. In Sambal, particularly, a wide range of emotions come forth, and laughter often echoes among those taking part. Always, though, there is an awareness that what we are doing is holy, ultimately serious, and that the gods and goddesses are not to be mocked or trifled with. The experience of the holy. From the beginning of the Asatru resurgence in America, we have been very open in our practice. We have allowed outsiders to attend, to take photographs, and to take part. I believe that this was a mistake, and I have been guilty of it myself. There is a difficult balance here. On the one hand, we need to give people some idea of what we do. Secrecy builds distrust, and people's imaginations will fill in the gaps with all sorts of fantasies, most of them unpleasant. Nevertheless, it is vital to protect the dignity of what we do and to maintain an awareness that this faith is ours, not something that can be expropriated by passersby. Over time, we must evolve protocols that meet both these requirements. Why does it matter so much? The German theologian Rudolf Otto, in his book The Idea of the Holy, examines the essence of the numinous experience, the human encounter with the divine. This meeting between man and divinity cannot be adequately described in words because it lies beyond the life that we know. We can only approximate a description of the numinous through analogy and through the feeling of awe and majesty it induces in us. The experience of the numinous is one of overwhelming power, of inspiration, and even of ecstasy. It is in this sacred state that we commune with the gods and with our ancestors. Our encounter with the holy powers is set apart from the mundane world. One early Germanic word for holiness, Wehas, implies exactly this sort of awe-filled separation. The Veebond, or sanctuary rope that marked off the ritual area in Viking times, was a physical sign of this protected, holy enclosure, in which every word and gesture took on special significance. It is inappropriate to invite the merely curious or whimsical, the scoffing, or the outsider into this space. Maintaining the dignity of the holy powers. Quite apart from the essential nature of the holy in Germanic religion, there are other very good reasons to safeguard our rights from the eyes of the outside world. Though our ceremonies consist of nothing more shocking than pouring libations to the holy powers, making certain gestures, or passing a horn around a circle and making toasts, they will look strange to some outsiders. It all comes down to what people are used to seeing. The Catholic Mass, complete with a priest in vestments, bells, and incense, would look very peculiar except for the fact that we are familiar with it. So it is with Asatru. We know why we do the things we do, and for us they make sense, but to others they may simply look bizarre. It is our duty to protect the gods and goddesses from the scorn of non-believers, keeping some things private. The problem is, then, that we must give outsiders some idea of what we do while not compromising our relationships with the gods. This is something that American Indians have done very well, and we can learn from their example. As my friend Stefan pointed out elsewhere in this book, anyone can come to a powwow and watch the drumming and the dancing. Sometimes, selected non-Indians may be invited to take part in other events, but ultimately there are rites to which only Indians are invited. Some Indian groups are very militant in stressing the proprietary nature of their practices, which of course gets them labeled racist by petulant moderns who feel they have a right to practice the religion of any group whatsoever. Historically, native religions have been guarded about their religious practices. When the father of a household in Vedic India performed the daily sacrifice before the hearth, only family members could be present. Even good friends were excluded. Similarly, lower castes and outsiders were not even allowed to hear certain verses of the Rig Veda spoken aloud. This was definitely not a come one, come all religion. In more modern times, the Mormons maintain the privacy of their religion against the casual curiosity of others. If you're not a Mormon, you won't be allowed inside the temple. Fraternal lodges like the Masons and their many offshoots keep the same policy of exclusivity. There is a place for privacy. Modern Asatru is still wrestling with this issue, but eventually a workable balance will be established. So what are my personal thoughts on what is appropriate or not? We need to be choosy about the people we allow to participate in or even to observe our rituals. Strangers or outsiders can have my hospitality and my friendship, but this does not necessarily give them a right to share my connection with the divine. I will not allow my rituals to be photographed, nor will I appear in public in ritual garb or clothing from another historical era. Years ago, I did this sort of thing, and I was mistaken. A dignified, reserved, reticent attitude toward the rites of our religion can win us the respect of the modern world. Most importantly, it will deepen our contact with the holy powers.